The cultural practices performed in and meanings attached to a particular place inform each other. This power-laden, co-constitutive relationship does not go unchallenged. The meanings imbued in everyday places are never static, for they are contingent on and constructed through the practices occurring at a particular space-time. Cultural geographers are interested in seemingly banal landscapes and are often taken for granted day-to-day practices and routines that generate place meanings. Cultural geographers analyze everyday landscapes through two interrelated approaches. Firstly, landscape is understood as a way of seeing the world, a framework for geographical imagination. Geographers stress the role of power in the production and perceiving of landscape. Secondly, drawing on the more than representational approach, geographers argue that the landscape needs to be understood as a way of inhabiting the world, the practices of, and in the landscape. Our everyday actions are creative and productive of landscapes. Therefore, landscape is not static, but constantly in the process of becoming. Religious landscapes are accretions over space and time, of meaning sustained and normalized through everyday religious routines. The landscape becomes religious when immersed in spirituality through our practices. Performance is the mechanism through which everyday spaces and activities are constituted and given meaning. As a continuous composition, the everyday landscape spatializes a plurality of social milieux and cultural functions. Landscape as performance thus lends us a register of grasping the multifarious ways in which everyday religious life is and becomes. Therefore, we examine how certain performances make, reinforce, or challenge the mundane, taken for granted meanings that people invest in the star, offering insights to the everyday politics of this landscape. The star is an integrated hub and a joint collaboration between a megachurch and a major property developer. In this mixed-use development, the Star Performing Arts Centre, or PAC, is owned and managed by New Creation Church, or NCC, and the Star Vista is owned and managed by Capital Malls Asia. We explore the everyday intersections between Christianity and capitalism in the Star, where particular spaces are being made religious at certain moments and secular at others. The Star provides a venue for Christians to reinforce their religious identity by performing collective rituals during church services. Such routine practices imbue this landscape with meanings of religiosity. It thus becomes an everyday religious landscape.
Look at the goodness of God. Look at the goodness of your God. God says, I'm bringing you and the people from the rock, which is earthbound, to the star, which is heavenly. The star is not a place just for Bible knowledge. It's a place where Jesus Christ, the King of all kings and the Lord of all lords, will be unveiled.
The Star also provides a venue where consumers enact their everyday retail practices. The Star Vista spatializes the secular and capitalist value of profit maximization. Everyday life takes place through interactions with friends, family, and strangers for both religious and non-religious purposes. A visitor to the Star may be a churchgoer, a consumer, and so on, and he or she may embody one or more of these identities at certain moments, yet other identities at other times. These meanings and identities are contested and negotiated as the Star is used for potentially contradictory yet everyday functions. As religion is written through practice onto landscape, the intersubjective rituals of everyday life in the Star have inscribed seeming oppositions onto the landscape. Religious meanings jostle with secular ones, which reflect Singapore's state as a polyglot of religious and non-religious, with complex mixture of the sacred and the secular. A key site where such contestations and negotiations take place in the Star is the Star PAC, which NCC uses for church services. However, through its business arm Rock Productions, it also markets the Star PAC as a suite for performance spaces for a wide range of events. Contestations to the specific religious character of the venue are evident as certain celebrities, espousing opinions and identities that contradict typically Christian ones, take to the stage. A concert by Adam Lambert, an openly gay pop artist, raised concerns among some Singaporean Christians that he might promote an alternative lifestyle in a church-owned venue. These Christians may have seen Lambert's presence as a challenge to the sanctity of the place because Singaporean Christians generally understand homosexuality to be sinful. They may have thus sought to protect a sacred space from the profane, even at moments when it was not being used for religious purposes. In this instance, a spectacular and a one-off event punctured the everyday and taken for granted sacred meanings inscribed through religious practices in the landscape. The relational quality of everydayness is evident here. How we view the spectacular in the landscape is always in relation to the everyday and vice versa. What one understands as exceptional is contingent on what one understands as everyday. For a churchgoer, a secular concert punctures his or her everyday life. For a consumer, a religious service is what does so for him or her. Everyday life is indeed a conundrum, at once humdrum but also with the potential for drama. The theatrical metaphor is apt, as the religious and secular meanings that are associated with the everyday landscape need to be constantly performed and re-performed to reify these meanings. Negotiations between the religious and the secular are evident in various statements by the Church and its members. The Star PAC, as a commercial entity, operates its business independently. However, NCC maintains that any event or concert presented at the Star PAC should not be misconstrued as having NCC approving of its artistic presentation or endorsing the lifestyle of the performer. Lambert himself emphasized that his show at the venue doesn't promote any lifestyle. A dual compromise has thus allowed the religious and secular to intertwine in the Star. Church members also dismiss the controversy, as they understand the church and rock production as separate entities. For them, the church is made up of its people rather than a place, such that a venue can be justifiably used for other purposes. Rock production continues to lease the Star PAC out for non-religious purposes and non-Christian religious purposes. Such everyday negotiations allow rock productions to continue drawing secular crowds to the Star PAC while upholding the religious character of NCC. The Star thus continues to be both religious and secular. As an everyday landscape, the Star is continuously being imbued with both religious and secular meanings, which may compete against or complement each other. If the everyday and everyday life are already always in constant reproduction, then we may never fully understand them. In an everyday landscape like the Star, binaries are blurred, continuums are collapsed, and distinctions are dissolved. It is evident that the spectacular and the everyday, and the religious and the secular, are always interwoven with each other, as both are constructed through individual routines that are also intersubjective. The Star as a religious landscape is an everyday practice, one that requires people to perform the appropriate rituals of spirituality while contesting and negotiating with secular ones.